And welcome back to the Revival Lounge. It has been a while. I can only apologise. It's my faux pas and definitely not Sam's.
We are back.
Yeah, I disappeared for a couple of months, been busy doing me stuff, but it is the way it is. But I'm back. Josh from Collectibles here, and of course with the magician Am from Funky Tiger Cards, my absolute
Hey everybody, welcome
partner
back.
in crime. So over the last week, we've sort of been discussing, because obviously if I've been out for a bit, and Sam has been upping his game every single day, doing bits. Before I sort of disappeared, I was playing around with a few things, and have only just jumped back onto it. But a lot of it revolved around something that's come up in the restoration community, which is, of course, the heat press. Sam went out and bought one, got himself a heat press, and I've been seeing some pretty amazing things. I've been doing something a little bit different because it's me, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be?
Exactly. So that's what I've been playing around with. But I am really interested in it because I don't have a heat press. They are an expensive bit of kit. Like, I mean, where did you get yours?
So I bought mine on Marketplace. So I managed to find a second-hand one for £50. It was up for 70, got it down for 50. So, yeah, a bit of experimentation. It's good.
That's actually incredible. You're such a you're a true vendor. The fact you can get the price down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But £50 is amazing. So if you can find one for 50 quid, because obviously brand new, I think they're around £200-300.
Yeah, you can get some really meaty ones.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of understanding, because does yours, you can change the temperature on it as well?
Yeah, you can do. So that's mine, back there in the corner.
Cool. It sort of looks like the perfect size. It's not too big, not too small kind of thing.
It's perfect. So what you want to be able to do is have the temperature setting on it that's quite easy to work out, and then you want to make sure that it goes as low as possible as well, because you're not trying to do ceramic bonding or anything like that, like any vinyl attachments to mugs or anything like that.
Yes,
But yeah, it's good fun. It's good experimenting.
See, the way I've always sort of viewed the heat as is like when you sort of get a crease or a bend or something like that, the card suffers from two things. You've got the cardboard layer and of course that plastic layer. That plastic layer will bend, like it will deshape, but it will also delaminate at the same time. So I feel like the heat press, and the only way to rectify that with plastic, sort of moisture doesn't really do much other than soften up the cardboard side. So having the heat actually allows that plastic it shrinks, like heat makes plastic shrink kind of thing.
Yep.
So you don't, too much heat obviously shrinks too much, it splits, it breaks, it covers apart. But if you have enough, just the right temperature, then I imagine it helps it shrink just enough to go back to its natural shape and then laminate itself back onto the cardstock.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the way I try and look at it, it's like a safer version of a heat pen.
Yeah.
That's sort of the way I look at it, is that you can control it a lot more. You can turn the temperature down less than a heat pen. I think a heat pen, when I was doing a bit of research, came to like 70 degrees C, so something like that, the lowest setting. So you can go lower than that with a heat press.
It's sort of like 70, or between 70 and 80, because it's obviously, it's
got
Chinese made,
setting.
so it's got, and then the high one, I think, is like 110, 120 or something like that. Like it is too extreme.
But then, on top of that, with the heat press as well, is you're getting an even, cook is probably the wrong word, but warmth.
Yes.
So when you talk about like drying a card out, you want to do it evenly. You're heating a card evenly. So if you've got a delamination, like you say, that a heat press is perfect for that. And, there's other things I'd say to do before using a heat press if you're just dealing with a crease.
Yeah.
That's like the last bit of it.
Yeah, it's sort of
where
like
I've
that
also
final
found,
step in which you've worked the crease to a nice place that when you do that it will, because if you relaminate it whilst it's still a big extended crease, you're just going to squish that crease and you'll still end up with a prong kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's like a micro crease is what people call it. So where you've got like that groove. Where I've also found a heat press has been quite useful is drying a card. So if you're having difficulties drying out a card evenly, that can almost help give it a bit of a.
But again, I guess that's low setting because you don't want it to evaporate. You don't want it to dry too quick, kind of thing.
Yeah. There's a couple of the bits, and I've been reaching out to our friend Dougie and a bunch of other people.
Always a shout out to Doug
community.
He is a huge legend.
Yeah. And there's a few people in the Card Care Academy online, so in that Discord group that I'm in, and they've got some tools and techniques in there. And there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can almost do like a low and slow method with the heat press over like 8 hours. These are like two tested methods.
Yeah, this is something I want to ask you about
over otherwise you could do it over like a course of an hour. But it's very much like you need to become more confident in using it on what type of damage and what type of thing you're trying to achieve, and then sort of go where the card wants you to go.
Yeah, of course.
It's like everything, from a XY promo, there'll be a different to like vintage card stocks.
Yeah, of course. I guess as well, it's sort of always start as low as possible, low and slow kind of thing, because that's always the best way to figure it out for yourself, which is always a challenge. Because I guess, was there any wreckages or breakages as you were learning the process with the heat press?
No.
Touch
wood.
But that's amazing.
Yeah, I had sort of 3 or 4 customers' cards that I knew I needed to heat press, and I politely said, "Look, give me a month. I want to practice. I want to see if I can break a card." And I cooked it like longer, like pressed it for longer, just to see how much a card could take before going on to theirs.
But I guess you didn't do anything too extreme. You were trying to do it properly, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, people will see the victory bell that I've got. I've actually got it here. Just wanted to leave it set for a week, see if it made any difference. But that was properly delaminated in like 5 different places, heat pressed it. That was over the 8 hours, and it came out beautifully. So
so I suppose that's the thing. It's sort of the severity of the crease, the delamination, and everything else. But overall, you've had positive experience with it, I'm guessing.
Yeah. For me, it's a lot easier to control than a heat pen.
Yeah,
because you aren't going in one spot too much. Where you can sizzle it. It's a even cook, for want of a better word. I can't think of a better word.
I like that. No, it sort of makes sense. So, sort of, what are the steps in which you would? Because obviously, the way I'm looking at sort of like a heat press or anything to do with heat is there's the process, the prep process, the actual pressing process, and then afterwards the sort of aftercare process of how you would either cool it down or set it, kind of thing.
Yeah. So what I've been doing is, if you're doing the shorter fiery technique that's a little bit hotter, it's like 73 degrees centigrade.
Right.
I think it worked out 165 Fahrenheit, I think is the conversion, but you need to fact check that. It's 73 English, right? So 73 degrees. To do that, you need to have done what we do with our cards, right? So 2 sprays each pad, leave the card for 6 hours. At that point, when you get out and it's cool, you can use it on that then.
Yeah.
What I'd always say is, if you're dealing with delaminations, as soon as you get it out, work it a little bit, because you want to try and soften that area, sort of almost remind it where it wants to go after you finished it. That's sort of what you're doing. You just do that onto your acrylic plate, penny sleeve over the top, But what you would do in amongst that is, if you can get like baking parchment as well. But you can use that on the other method more. But
because this was going to be something else I ask you. When you put it into the heat press, I noticed people do different sandwich techniques of different materials and textiles. Do you use the same ones every time? And if so, what are they?
So I followed the tools that are in the Card Care Academy. So I can't say that, this is Sam's or Funky Tiger's great idea. Like, this is the stuff I've copied and it's worked. So shout out to those guys for, doing the research on that. But effectively, you just use baking parchment. So non-textured baking parchment that you'd have at home. So this is for the 8-hour one. So start with the 8-hour cooking time. So what you do is you have like an aluminium sheet. So you have an aluminium sheet that's 3 mil thick. Then you do 2 of these.
Right.
Then you would put in our lovely foam pad.
Okay, then so the foam pad guys could go in there as well.
Yeah. Then the card on top, foam pad on top, 2 more sheets of parchment, and then you'd have your other aluminium sheet on top, and then you just press that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And to my understanding, the heat press only has heat on one side.
Yeah, it does. So on the 8-hour one, you can flip it halfway through.
Yeah. Because this was are you doing hollow surface face down or up, or like towards the heat or away from it?
Yeah, so I thought about this and whether or not to try different ways. I've always done hollow up, because that's the side I'm trying to fix on delamination.
Yes, yeah.
But that's the way I've always done it. I have tried the other way, and it's not made any difference, really.
So that's sort of pressing it. It seems very simple, to be fair. And then the aftercare strategy. So you've baked it for however long you've done. I love saying that you're baking it. It's actually
baking it,
hilarious.
Baking it.
But yeah, so you've it's been in the heat press for however long. You've opened the heat press. What is your next step now?
So you don't open it straight away. So after you've done the timer, I always set a Alexa. Set one of them, do some other jobs, bits and pieces, just make sure the temperature. What I have found, actually, sorry, just jumping back a step, when you've got a heat press, if you set it to a temperature, usually it'll run past that temperature before it then goes back down to the temperature you want.
Right.
So turn the heat press on, let it run past 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees, and then it'll come back down again.
Let it
then
settle, kind
put
of
your
thing.
card in. Yeah.
Clever.
So really important you do that because you don't want to be overcooking it. When it's done its time that you've done it, switch it off. Right, yeah, turn it off, leave it overnight, 4 hours, whatever, till it gets back to room temperature. And then when it's done that, take it out and clamp it up like that.
Cool.
You
Just as you would. So it's sort of like, because I always view the process as you've got 3 steps. You've got the introduction of moisture, you've got working the card, then you've got the evaporation of the moisture kind of thing. Those are the 3 key steps in card restoration. So I view this as the working the card step almost kind of thing. So it is included in that.
That's fair.
Yeah, and then you then take it out, clamp it up, and now it enters the evaporation step.
Pretty much, yeah. And then you just leave it for 3 days.
Yeah.
Minimum. 3 days, 4 days. It doesn't really matter after a couple of days, 3 days point. You can get out, check on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's really helpful actually. That's sort of broken it down quite nicely and made it seem it's not that difficult, to be fair. It's just understanding the temperatures, how those temperatures affect the card, and of course, as always, every card, every bit of damage is different. So what you're trying to achieve will be different in that respect. So I thought this was what I have been working with. So I bought this in October last year and started playing with it. It's effectively a budget heat press. I use it for when I'm mixing chemicals and things. So it's a heat plate. So you've got a flat surface which heats up. You can control it. I've not got it plugged in at the moment, but you can control the temperature to a degree, which is brilliant, and it will hold its temperature at that degree for perfect. Because obviously you could put a card on this. It's an uneven surface, and you could do bits on there. It's a bit dangerous. So to converse the heat through, we've got a steel block to go on top. This isn't magnetic, so I'll get onto that in a second. So you've got then a steel block that sits on top.
Out of interest, how heavy is the steel block?
Yeah, fairly heavy. I'm not going to lie. Like it is. Yeah. Like you don't want to be around me.
A very manly weight.
Yeah. And then because the most conductive metal is copper, so we've got copper plate that goes on top of that. Then you would place your card, and then to press it, I have actually bought a fishing magnet. So with another copper plate on top of that, say your card's in there kind of thing, doing similar to what a heat press does. You got this bad boy that locks on top, and it's a strong magnet. It's got, I think it's like 2. It's not so much that it crushes the card, but it's enough that it presses it kind of thing. Like it's nice, comfortable weight. So I've been doing similar things as a heat press, like you've been doing with a heat press with these. But then the cool thing about this is, like I said about the plastic layer in there, that when you're working it, technically you want the card to be warm, because then that plastic layer is also malleable. Is you can have this on a low temperature, I normally do it about 50-60 degrees, so it's still nice and warm. Put the card on there and actually work the card on the heat plate, because then that means you actually get to mold it also makes it soft, so you do have to be more delicate, of course, but it gives it a nice sort of malleability. So working those creases, especially on the front hollow layer, which is incredibly hard to work with, just makes it's still the same. So when you're working on it, you're still doing the same things as you would if it wasn't on a heat plate. It just helps guide it just a little bit better. But all of these were bought on Amazon. They're all relatively cheap, so you can sort of make a budget heat press for less than 100 quid kind of thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. But the best thing, what I have found with it, is for dents. So I think that can lead us on to our next topic nicely, which is, of course, dents. I've had a few people ask me.
Dents.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, dents they can be really, really easy to fix, or they can also be absolute nightmares. I find that because normally if it's like a dent from an object pushing into it, the exit wound on the side is normally way easier to fix than the entry wound, especially on modern cards. I find that the surface on modern cards are quite rigid either side, so that entry dent often is bedded in there pretty savagely. Like I've seen you recently have some incredible results with dents and sort of almost pen lines.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. Okay, right. So first things first, I usually just try our usual revival kit technique. So I'll do the 2 sprays, each pad, clamp it up, 6-12 hours later, fine, anywhere in between then. Bit of tool work, take it out, clamp up, and just see what you're left with. What I'll then try, if that doesn't work, when it's completely dry, is I'll do the snail trail method.
Yeah.
So you literally just use the pipette, cotton bud, something just to apply moisture to that area. Something that I will do is, if you use like a cotton bud or something like that and you soak it full of card mist with any liquid, the first time it touches another object, it will come out loads.
Yeah.
So what I'll always do is, if I'm wearing, well, I'll always wear gloves, but I'll tap a little bit on my gloves there, and that'll like the big pool will go on my glove rather than the card.
Yeah.
Then I'll apply it to the card, and then
So
let
I'm
that
just going to
soak
stop
in.
you there because I've just had an
go on.
idea with something recently for that
Go on.
exact snail trail method.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you can see me right now because currently the podcast is buggery at the moment.
Okay.
But I've got. Can you see this?
It's like a vial of some sort.
Yeah, it's a vial, but it's got a ball on the end.
Okay.
So you apply solution, dab it on like that. And I've been using this to pinpoint, I call it sort of like the injection method. So if you're working along a crease or a dent, you can follow the shape that it is and just gently
That's
roll it
cool.
on. And it applies such a small amount, like it's such a minuscule amount. Because I often find with a pipette, even if you do a little bit, it's still too much. Like you need such a fine, like you don't need much at all. So having this has sort of helped do that. I only
Interesting.
sort of figured this out today, so it's something that I think we could potentially include in the kits some way down the line because they are pretty good, because even without the solution in, they're almost like a massager kind of thing.
Interesting. And how big's the trail on it, out of interest?
It's tiny. Well, it's not tiny, but just enough. Like when you do it on a card, because obviously liquid tries to group together, it sort of just fills the dent nicely.
Interesting. Because I guess what you want to try and look at is like how near to the corner is. 'Cause especially on vintage cards, people always go, how much should I do? And I'm like, right, with vintage, try one spray on each side.
Yes,
Just see where you get to, right? So yeah, what I was going to say is like, yeah, just how close you could get to the corner comfortably without then hitting the edge of the corner. But that's cool. I love the little mind, Josh.
I'll jump
Wonders.
back into that in a bit because I've been working on a little technique which I'll jump into. But yeah,
Okay.
you were saying, so you've done the
Sweet.
pipette technique.
Yeah, so done the pipette, and then I do the same thing, clamp it up, get it back out after 4 or 5 hours, something like that. And then what I have had good results with is, you say like working both sides of the card. So if you have the acrylic plate on the back, usually what we'd say is, put your penny sleeve on there or your baking sheet or whatever, just something that's protecting the card from the plate, but it's flat and firm. Sometimes I work it onto the pad.
Yeah.
So very, very gently work it onto the pad. And what you'll find is, especially if the card, it needs to be malleable. The card, you can't do it on a dry card, otherwise you'll end up like denting it more or bending the card. But if the card's nice and flexible, the card will work with you quite nicely to almost protrude the dent a little bit further.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird trying to cause more damage, but if you've got like a pin dent, you need to widen the dent.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a flat card here and it's got a very sharp, shallow dent, you want to try and widen the dent so then allow it to come back up.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
that's sort of the logic behind it, right? So you want to try and work both sides of the card, try and make that tiny pin dent into a bit of a wider, like, valley almost.
So let's backtrack a second before we go all in on the pin dents. Say you've got a nicer looking dent.
Okay.
And you've done this technique, you've done it, but it's still showing a little bit. Would you recommend just doing that same process again once it's dried?
Rule of 3. I always do 3. That's what I always say to people, right? 3 drops of Spearmint 66. Always do that. But same with dents, creases, whatever. I'll do 3 cycles. If it hasn't changed in 3 cycles, I'll stop.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, can you do a little bit more? Like, there's no point.
That's it.
Because all you're doing is you're stressing the card more and more. And if you need the card to work with you at the end of the day.
So even if it hasn't done it in that first one, don't be defeated. Give it another go because it might come up on that second one. If it hasn't come up by the third one, just leave her.
Yeah, exactly. You've got a escalation. So you do like the normal treatment, then you've got the snail trail, then you've got the hydro pump that we talked about, then you've got the heat press potentially. What I'm saying is I wouldn't heat press a card 3 times, for example. I wouldn't do the snail trail 3 times and nothing's happened. You'd get to a point and you sort of go, I'm not really sure if this is working.
That's it. That's that kind of thing. Yeah. Because this is something. So whilst I've been practicing with these little methods, is say like my favorite card to work on ever is a vintage non-hollow. They just respond so perfectly. There's no plastic layer in there. They just absorb the moisture perfectly. Like you get so much work. They're so malleable and so easy to work with. And then as it goes through the eras, and different hollows that you have will make a card harder to work with. And obviously, the more rigid and plasticky a card is, the harder it is for you to get a dent out. Like there's some cards where it is, especially if it's plastic. But this is where this little heat sort of mechanisms come into play quite nicely, because gently warming them has actually helped sort of bring the dent out. But it is difficult though, because like you say, so yeah, let's go more into the pinpoint dents. So you've got to make it slightly worse. You've got to sort of, so instead of it being a harsh, you sort of bring the area around it down a bit, so that then when you treat it again with the next cycle, it will bring that central point back up. Is that sort of correct?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so if imagine that's the card, right, and you've got a very shallow, sharp dent like that, yeah, that's not going to just pop back up by itself. You need to sort of make it like that, which then after time the card will allow itself to sort of rest and get back to flat.
Yeah.
On a very warped bit of foam. But that's the logic, right?
But on
that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that magic will happen in that evaporation stage. So after you've worked it kind of thing, I find that it will still look pretty savage, and then I'll leave it for a couple of days. When I come back to it, actually that dent has gone. But again, pinpoint dents, how successful? What's the success rate on a pinprick dent? Because I've had, dependent on the card stock, like I say, if it was a non-hollow vintage, it's almost come out every time. Yeah. Again, and always that exit wound has always got back to them, but then that entry wound on a more modern rigid card, it seems I haven't had much luck with. I'm not going to lie.
So in terms of getting the card flat, probably say about 90%. Right?
Yeah.
What I would say is on the more modern cards, you end up with almost like scarring because of the plastic. Like if you've ever, I don't know, you've been to like a cafe when you're younger or whatever, and you've bent like a plastic spoon. And you bend it over and over again, and it sort of goes white where the plasticky bit was so that you're bending. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean.
So it's almost like where that damage is, you can see the scar of where it was, but it's flat. Like you run your finger across it, and it's completely flat, but you can still see that slight scar from where it was.
Yeah.
So I have had that a few times on modern cards.
Whether you can live with a little blemish or a full-on dent kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's what I say to people. Like, look, you know, this on this sort of card, this sort of area, this is probably what you're going to get. Yeah. Anything more's perfect.
Yeah. But what I've been working on recently is quite a cool way of doing things, using the little pen thing. We'll grab a little, I'll show. We'll do a little show and tell. So, for instance, I've been using these little laminating sheets because I think they're anything. You can use any form of sort of polymer plastic. We also use picture holders, like photo sleeves and things. But yeah, so for instance, we've got our card in there. I will use the little, this is a really bad way to show it off. Rather than having to spray like the entirety of the card to get the entire card wet, say there was a dent there, if you get the little roller and just draw it on a little bit there, does it come out
like that?
When you put this over it, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but
it smushes it out.
It spreads it out. So now you've got an area that is workable, because if the rest of the card is perfect, that's the only area you need to worry about working, kind of thing. And then I have finally found purpose for the Buzz Guy 3000. So there's two varieties of these. You can buy them and then you get a vibrating one, which is just the completely wrong one. So I've seen some people get these and say now they're useless because they've bought the vibrating one. What you want is the ultrasonic one, and that's because it does this. So if we get a little bit of card mist on there, when you turn it on, let's do it. It atomizes all the solution. So say you've just applied it to a card, especially a dent. When you turn this on, what I like to do is turn it on, and then using sort of like, you see there's the bent bit, just that edge there, I'll run it backwards and forwards. It makes a horrible noise sometimes, so be careful. Yeah. But if you run it backwards and forwards, you've got to now think that what this is doing to that solution that's on the card is doing it, it's atomizing it and fluffing it up almost instantly. So rather than you having to wait for it to go into a card, it instantly goes in there and fluffs the card up. It's quite amazing really watching it happen. I've managed to get dents out instantly on either the soft part, so over the back of a hollow card. Like I say, the front needs a lot more working because of that plastic layer. But dents seem to come out pretty instantly doing this little technique. It's really, really cool. I will put a video on the Instagram at some point about that. However, this can also be quite dangerous, I've found. So if you have a card that has a lot of damage to it, a lot of like flaking or creases and things like that, where the ink has split. Because this is making that solution atomize and sort of explode, if you hit a bit, not always, this doesn't happen always, especially if you've got a protective sleeve over it, but it's quite likely that split will split even more, because the moisture in there will just go and it explodes it even more. But for Dents, this has been working pretty awesomely, I'm not gonna lie. And then again, using the heat plate as a plate for warmth, doing that on the on a low setting on the hollow side to help it be more malleable has proven well. I haven't managed to get the pin dent completely out because, like I say, I've only been doing this for the last couple of days. But that's where I'm at with that, and it's actually quite awesome because I've been using this for a while, and I want to find the perfect thing for it because it works to an extent of awesomeness, and that it feels like it should do the right. If anyone wants one of these, they are on Amazon. You can grab them. They're called facial scrubbers. Really easy to get.
Everything is like makeup-y, face beauty related. I think we're just trying to repurpose stuff.
Well, at the end of the day, what we make, it's all just cosmetics for cards kind of thing. It is just sort of cosmetics, like they are cosmetic products almost. But that's what I've been working on with that side of things. And if people want to give that a go, 100% recommend it because it is really cool. These little vial things, I reckon they'll be included in the kit soon. They might make the price jump up by like 30 quid because they're super exclusive, but
niche.
Yeah, exactly. But it seems to be working really well, so I'll have to get some out to you as well, Sam, to have a play with.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
That controlled application is really beneficial rather than having to be fiddly with a pipette kind of thing. Using a little roller, it instantly just pops it on. Because card mist loves to sort of sink into the card, it very much works hand in hand with it, which is really nice. It also works well if you want to soak an entire card, so sort of using that method does work really well. So if you sort of go along the central and then flatly laminate it, it spreads the solution out nicely for you to then get working basically. However, there is also the other technique, which is hydro pumping. Which sounds really weird to say like that.
It is, I know. It's all Pokemon themed, but again, it's a really cool technique for just adding lots of moisture to a card to then allow you to work it. So where you want to get it to a really malleable state, effectively what you want to be doing, so rather than do 2 sprays, you can do 5 sprays, 6 sprays, 7 sprays into both pads. But what you can't do is then put the card straight on it. You need to give it some form of protective layer.
Right, okay.
What you then do is get your baking parchment, and after you've sprayed it, put your baking parchment over the foam, then you put card on top, and then you do the reverse. So you do parchment, spray, and you clamp it up for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. You can even leave it a day if you really wanted to.
And where do you sort of leave it? Do you leave it in sort of like because obviously what I've found is that environment plays a crucial part in card restoration. So would you leave it in a fairly warm environment kind of thing? Not too hot, just in
my office. It seems to be about 20 degrees.
So perfect ambient temperature kind of thing.
Yeah. Just room temp, fine. Just on the side, you can put it in like some people have like humidity boxes and stuff like that. You can put it in. For me, it's fine just out.
Yeah,
it depends what I want to do with it. If I'm prepping it for
sort
a
of
heat
like
press or
instant humidifying, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. So what you'll then do is when you take the card out, you'll find that the baking parchment will go.
How long
like
have you left it in there? Sorry. So how long do you leave it for?
4 to 24 hours, depending on what I want to do with it.
Yeah.
So
the more severe the damage kind of thing, the longer it stays in.
Yeah. I mean, life gets in the way. It's not. There's not an exact time frame. You know, you might go for dinner. You know, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be wet when you get out. Right, you'll get the card out and it'll be really, really floppy and wet, and it probably got darker a bit in colour on the back as well. You should expect it, but your parchment would have looked like that before, and it'll look like that afterwards. You can get it in the light.
Yeah.
So it'll be all crinkled. Right, and if you had a heat pen at that point, that's the perfect membrane to put over your card to heat pen because you've got all the moisture that's stored in this wrinkly. That's probably better light.
Yeah.
You can see all the wrinkles in it. That's just where the water's just soaked up into it. But that's then the perfect tool to start manipulating creases. If you've got like pin dents to spread them out, the card will almost be like butter.
Yeah.
You're then into a new domain of drying the card properly as well. So where in the kits we have the 4 clamps, you're probably going to want more clamps to be able to dry it properly. What you can do is
distribute pressure kind of thing around it.
Yeah. Just to dry that, you've got a couple of options. You can either heat press it to dry it. It's an option. Another way of doing it.
How do you find the heat press reacts to a card that's soaked kind of thing?
Fine.
Yeah,
It's just the same. In that instance, I do the 8-hour soak.
Yeah, cool.
The 8-hour cook, bake,
yeah,
whatever we're
cool.
calling it.
But no, I think that's a good point to get across, is that like even a fully soaked card still reacts quite nicely in a heat press.
Yeah, it makes the card a lot more workable, having it in for that long.
Awesome. So, and then once it's dry and it dries more evenly kind of thing, and once it's clamped, it is then left be. How long do you normally leave it for, would you say, as well, if you hadn't had the heat press?
Yeah, so it depends really. So if it's vintage stock, I'd say not do it at your peril, that's the wrong word, but be more considered with how wet you get it, because they retain the moisture a lot harder. Like I've been battling, and one of my customers knows this because I've been talking to about it, but I've recently posted it on the Shining Gyarados, the battle I had to sort the texture out on that card.
Oh, seriously?
Because of just where it's so... about a month I've been... Because the only way to get it back from that point is you have to re-hydro pump it. To then attempt to work it to get it back out again.
It was like my recent reel when I spoke about like the cellulose or the card stock isn't treated with anything, so it's a very hygroscopic sort of material, so it absorbs these, but it's also why they're so good. Well, I guess you don't really need to hydro pump old vintage non-hollows because they're just so workable. They're so, because they just absorb moisture like that. It's instant. Whereas
really
more
workable.
modern ones, whereas more modern cards, absolutely, they probably react better to a soaking and dry better with an actual soaking.
Yeah, definitely. And so your original question was around drying time. So after I've done that, there's a couple of ways you can dry it. So you can take the edge off it by doing a reverse hydro pump. So with fresh pads or new parchment, and you basically do the exact opposite but without spray. And then what you can do is every time you start seeing the paper go from that to that, you take it out, swap it. So usually you'll find after 2 to 4 hours, it will start getting like that again. So you unclip it all and then clip it all back together.
Sort of like trying to empty a sinking ship with a bucket. So you're constantly trying to get rid of that water, that moisture, so to speak. So you're constantly checking on it, and you just even it. So giving it fresh thick pads and fresh baking parchment, so it can keep removing that moisture from it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, literally you can just do it by flipping the pads. So to be fair, what I've done in the past is, every sort of couple of hours, 4 hours, is unclip it all, take the parchment out, new parchment in, flip the pad over, put it back, and then just restack my little thing. You don't necessarily need massive clamps. You can just do it with your 4 clamps that we provide in the kit. That would work. If you're still struggling to get it dry, then you can get big, beefy clamps like you use for woodworking projects, and you can clamp all the way down the card. So instead of it being positioned like that, you'd have the massive clamps all the way down the card, so the whole card surface is covered. And you think that you are squeezing the hell out of the card, but that can help as well. It's just different ways of different ways of skinning a cat, I think, is the same. 7 ways to skin a cat.
There certainly is. I couldn't tell you how, though. So would you use that technique with dents or anything like that, or is it mainly sort of when a crease is being really...
I use it as escalation. So I always start with 2 sprays or 1 on vintage, and then I go to the snail trail. And then if that's improving it, I wouldn't go up to a hydro pump. I'd just gradually see. And that's when people say, like, oh, how long does it take to do a card? I go, I can't tell you. It takes as long as it takes until I can't go anymore. I will try everything that I think's appropriate.
Because this is the thing. When do you know to escalate it? Obviously, we say try a technique 3 times. If it doesn't work, then stop. But if you try something and it worked a little bit, do you continue working the way you did, or do you escalate?
I do it once more. So, so at the minute I'm working on it's the English version of the... Is it Crossing the Ruins Umbreon? Is it Sky Ridge or Neogenesis?
Yeah, Neo Discovery,
whatever set it is. Yeah, Neo Discovery, that Umbreon. It's got like Wolverine marks on it. It's got 3 like perfect scratches on the hollow.
Damn cats.
And they were really...
Wish I knew how to skin them now.
Really sharp. Yeah, I know, right? That's a different episode.
Yeah.
And so I basically tried 2 sprays. I didn't really think it would do anything, but just try it, massage it in a little bit like you did with your roller thing, but with a penny sleeve and some tools, and it didn't shift it at all. So I was like, okay, right, fine. Tried it. Next, do spot treatment, and it's lifted slightly. So I got that out tonight. Worked it a little bit.
Hey, nice, That
will go back in, but it's still there. It's still really obvious. But I'll just do the same again and just see if it improves. If it doesn't, then I'll hydro pump it, and You just go from there.
Right, I see. Awesome. Well, I think that covers the majority of topics, unless you have any questions for me about anything that I've shown on this here.
I love your sciencey stuff. Send me one of those rollers, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've got you want to know how I got them as well? Is from Temu giving me like free coupons or some random stuff. You know, where it like advertise you random things. It's like, put 3 of these in your basket and you get them for free.
Well,
and
they tell me that stuff's free, and I do it, and then it says, right, that's £80. I go,
it's
supposed to be free. What?
Yeah, but it popped up with one of those, and these were on there, and I was like, ding, light bulb moment. Fuck it, let's give it. Sorry, pardon my French. I was like, chuff it, let's give it a go. And they arrived, and then they've just been sat here for a while, and then obviously I've been practicing doing the dents and things the last few days, and it just came to me, and I was like, let's give that a go and see what it's like. And yeah, it seems to be working pretty well. And this is something I'm going to try be consistent with because, like I said, I've disappeared for the last couple of months. So
it's Christmas. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But we've come back. We've hit it hard because it's official that the revival kit is available to purchase in 2 stores.
In stores now. There you go.
The fact you can say that is actually crazy. Some absolute legends. So I've been on the phone to a couple of the lads, but from Legacy TCG, who are friggin' amazing. They're based in the southwest, I believe.
Yeah, down in Plymouth. Their shop's opening soon. I don't know the exact date, but yeah, Steve and Lee, they'll be able to tell you. Yeah, sound guys, but yeah, they'll be stocking our revival kits, which is awesome.
Indeed. They're holding a VIP night, which will be posted on the Instagram. I'll try to tag them in the description. I haven't quite figured out how to tag them on the screen just yet. So if I figure that out, they'll be here. If I haven't, they'll be there.
And then another shout out to the guys in Yeovil, so my local card shop, so that's the Collectors Lounge. So Alex and Dan, they've taken a couple of kits in as well, just to see how they go. But yeah, appreciate the love and the trust in our products to have in your shops as well. So if anyone else is watching this and you have a Pokemon shop or TCG shop in general, give us a shout. Yeah, definitely. And we can stock them in yours too.
But the main rule is you have to be a good person. We only support good people here, and good people support us, which is beautiful. And the ones that we are stocking in are so lovely. So really definitely go check them out if you have the time to, and support them, because they're really decent and very welcome people into that side of the hobby. But otherwise, I think that about wraps it up. So remember, subscribe to keep all the podcasting needs. If you have any questions, reach out to Funky Tiger Cards on Instagram or myself, Coat Lectables, because more than always happy to help with any form of question when I reply. But if you need any cards restoration, you don't feel confident enough to do it yourself, check out Sam as well. Drop him a message because he'll be happy to do that for you, and check out the results he's created, because my gosh, they are some of the stuff you've been putting up recently has been pure fire, absolute fire.
It's so good. I had some tips about the editing as well, so now I'm using that. I've just love it.
This is it. Yeah, so the content's up its game. 2026 is going to be a big year. We're going to try release more podcasts more consistently and talk about what we've been up to. It's time to get back on this high horse, man. We're going to do it.
And also as well is we're taking our revival kits on the road with us to some shows coming up. So maybe in the next podcast we can have a little tally, Josh, who sold the most revival kits.
Yeah, I'll need to work that out as well. But absolutely. I mean, next week's episode will probably be us talking about the shows we went to, what we've cleaned,
100%.
How it's going. Because you've got one this weekend, haven't you?
Yeah, I can't wait to see the people. It's a charity show at Western Supermare.
Oh,
Cap Protection League. So really excited for that. And Legacy will be there too.
Brilliant. So, send my absolute love to them. And I'm over at Swindon. So we'll reconvene next week and talk everything podcast.
Sounds great. Have a great time. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Love you. Bye.